Alex Murdaugh will spend the rest of his life in prison for the murders of his wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul. And a new book is showing the lengths that this killer went to try to cover up his crimes. Get this, friends. Murdaugh allegedly threw a birthday party for Paul from jail just 10 months after he gunned his son down at their family home. And at the time, Murdaugh hadn't been charged in Paul or Maggie's killings, but was being held for his other alleged crimes. He reportedly gave his surviving son, Buster, a list of people to invite to the birthday party and pressed Buster to celebrate Paul's 23rd birthday. How sick is that? For more on the sinister party planning and much more, we have a very special guest joining us on the program. We want to welcome in true crime author and investigative journalist John Glatt. John has written 19 true crime books, and his most recent, Tangled, Vines, Power, Privilege, and the Murdaugh Family Murders is out now for purchase. John, thank you so much for coming on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Would you start by walking us through your process, please? What did you do to go about writing this book on Alex Murdaugh?
Well, I wanted to get as much information as I can. So the first thing was to actually go to Hampton. So a couple of years ago, I took off to the Low Country, to 5 counties, and spent like a month there trying to meet as many people that knew the Murdaughs as possible and get as much information and background as I could. And I got very lucky, you know, during my trip. It took a while to get people to kind of open up about them because there's still a lot of fear about the Murdaughs because they really ruled the Low Country for like over 100 years, and people respect and fear the family. But eventually I did get people to open up and talk to me about them.
John, tell us what you learned about this birthday party for Paul. This is so sickening. Tell us about it, please.
Well, it actually, another journalist filed a Freedom of Information request for the jail that Alex Murdaugh was being held in. And amazingly enough, they released like 220 calls or something that he made when he was first arrested. And I methodically listened to all of them. And this was the one that really, really stuck out. It was April 14th, 2022. The occasion was Paul Murdaugh's 23rd birthday. In fact, it was 10 months after he'd been murdered by his dad. And Alex actually was negotiating with Buster to throw a party at a bar in Charleston Harbor called the Shem Creek Bar. And they were going through a third person to organize everything and do the invitations. And Alex was asking Buster how it was going, and Buster was assuring him that the word was out there and it was all over social media and it was going to be a very big party. When I heard that, I really, really couldn't believe it. I mean, the hubris and the nerve of doing this, you know, after you murder your son and your wife, and to actually organize a party, it was very strange.
Oh, it's just disgusting. John, do you know, did the party in fact happen?
As far as I know, it did. I mean, this was just a call before the party leading up to it. But Buster said that everything was in the works. And, you know, I think it must have taken place.
Sure. I wonder if Alec referred to Paul as Paw on the jail call. Do you remember hearing that, or did he say Paul?
He said Paul, I think. He didn't say Paw. This came up in the trial, which I watched on Court TV, actually.
Oh, and, thank you for that, John.
You know, pet names for Maggie and Paw, they came up when he was testifying. But during the phone calls, I never heard any of them, you know. He was very kind of matter-of-fact about things. And very manipulative. Manipulative, I should say, too. He was always trying to get everybody to do what he wanted. And he was, for Mother's Day, he was like pressing Buster to put flowers on his mother's grave. And he was even chasing up, you know, Buster's aunt to prod him into doing so, to make sure that they had flowers in his name on Maggie's grave, and this is who he was convicted of murdering. It just defies imagination.
It sure does, John. We've got a look back at that moment we're referencing where he's calling Pa, 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 and he's getting cross-examined on it. Let's watch.
Paw Paw? That was your nickname for Paul?
I mean, I called him Paw Paw. Maggie called him Paw Paw. Bus calls him Paw Paw.
Sure.
Roro calls him Paw Paw. I mean, that's
Roro? Who was Roro?
That's Rogan Gibson.
Okay. And this jury, of course, has heard multiple recorded statements of you during the course of this. Did you ever refer to Paul as Paw Paw during that?
I don't know.
Just as we said, he didn't. It was all a show for the trial. John, tell me, as you've studied him and done so much research about him, what do you think makes Alex Murdaugh tick?
That's such a good question. I mean, I've wondered this so many times. I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist, but who's to say? I mean, in my mind, he was a sociopath. He had no empathy with anybody. He even stole from his own brother, Randy, $200,000 or so. He had no empathy for anybody and never felt guilty about anything. And as you saw him testify at the trial, I mean, he openly admitted the thefts and everything, you know, didn't seem to faze him whatsoever, although he still disputes that he murdered anybody.
Right.
But I don't know. I think there was another book to be written about his state of mind.
Ooh, yes, yes. That would be a bestseller. I mean, you are just somebody who has just become synonymous with great true crime writing. You've received so many accolades for your tremendous work as a journalist and true crime writer. I mean, you've got books galore. You've got one on Lori Vallow Daybell that's out as well. I mean, everyone should check out your website and all of the books that you offer. I wanted to ask, John, what is next? You're somebody that's had such an illustrious career. You don't let any grass grow under your feet. What is next? Are you working on any other projects right now you can share with us, please?
Actually, at the moment, I'm taking a breather because I spent more than 2 years on the Murdaugh case and got totally swamped. So I'm taking a little breather for the summer, and then I'm going to sort of think about my next project.
Good for you.
There.
Well, I know our court is going to love to check out your latest book, Power, Privilege, and the Murdaugh Family Murders, out right now everywhere books are sold. John Glatt, what a delight it's been to have you on the program. We'd love to talk to you sometime again soon.
Me too. What a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you kindly. Take good care.